Hello, welcome to Paul Booth's Movie Podcast for Thursday, August 28th. Thank you for joining me. I want to say I appreciate all the views on the other podcasts. It's really exciting to see people tuning in and checking it out. As you can see here, I'm wearing a hat that I was lucky enough to receive from a friend. It's from the American Society of Cinematographers. I want to be clear that they're not sponsoring, endorsing, or associated with this podcast. I just mentioned the hat because I want people to know what the ASC is and to pay more attention to our cinematographers who do such a great job of bringing the director's vision to light. That was not supposed to be a joke, but anyways. Behind me, I put one film that's totally cliche to discuss, but I'm going to discuss it anyways, and another film that the reason why I wore the ASC hat on was because it's probably, if not the best example of cinematography. I'm not going to review it because by now you should know it, and if you don't, just watch it. You don't need to hear one word out of me, and that's Lawrence of Arabia, which you'll see right here. Peter O'Toole, 1962 Best Picture winner. Lord of the Rings is not epic. Anything we think is epic is not epic. Lawrence is epic, and that's not being a film snob. That's not anything. Just check it out. Lawrence of Arabia. If you have not seen it, you will love it. I wanted to also draw attention to a great series for you film buffs of postage stamps, and if you're lucky enough to check it out, for you classic film fans, it has John Huston, John Ford, Billy Wilder, and Howard Hawks. It's a great collectible item. I got it a few years back. Hopefully they'll rerun it. Ask your local post office. The cliche film that I know everybody has seen, or maybe you haven't, and you're in for a real treat because this is a film that changed movies. I would debate anybody that says it didn't, because this is a film that, you know, whether you saw it at 10 years old or 20 years old or 30 years old, it impacted you. You can watch it 5 years later and it's a completely different film. You can watch it 10 years later and it's different is an understatement. And that's The Breakfast Club. This, not 10 Things I Hate About You, and not any other, sorry, it's not being a film snob, it's just truth. There's certain things in film, like life, that are just truth. And that's that The Breakfast Club created the teen genre. Now this movie also was the reason why I mentioned the American Society of Cinematographers was because this was shot by Thomas Del Ruth. For you trivia fans, he also shot The West Wing, so he's probably one of the few cinematographers that got to shoot the best work of Emilio and the best work of Martin. So it would be interesting to see what other cinematographers have worked with fathers and sons. But The Breakfast Club, again, I'm always going to say this is an uncensored podcast, and it's just because we can't hold back. And that's what I love so much about this film, was this film looked at teenagers without condescending. It looked at teenagers without saying that we have it figured out. John Hughes, master director, his second film. This came after 16 Candles, for you 80s film fans. And of course he did Weird Science after, which does not compare to The Breakfast Club. And then a lot of people, he's probably most widely known for Ferris Bueller's Day Off to mainstream audiences. If you like 80s films and you like these films I just mentioned, you got to read a book called You Couldn't Ignore Me If You Tried. Again, it's called You Couldn't Ignore Me If You Tried. And I reference that book because it's a line, not only does it tell the history of The Breakfast Club, but it's a line from The Breakfast Club that Judd Nelson speaks to Molly Ringwald. I want people that have seen this movie to go back and watch this movie and just look for the little nuances, like Molly Ringwald giving sweet eyes to the Judd Nelson character, or the despair in Anthony Michael Hall's eyes when he's teased by Judd Nelson. These are, you know, actors that at the time weren't known, so they couldn't rely on their star power. One could say Emilio, oh, we know who he is, but his dad was known. We have to, again, always put a film in a context. 1984. I'm also mentioning this film because we're in the 30th year of The Breakfast Club. I vividly remember this film because I wasn't allowed to see it because I was so young, but my older brother could watch it, so I kept wondering, what's The Breakfast Club? What's The Breakfast Club? Why can't I watch it? So you have to go back to this film. It nails every nuance of the insecurities and the fun times of being a teen. The relationships between boys and girls, sexuality, all those things that at the time we were wondering about, but now we can kind of look back and laugh of why were we so confused. But again, the insecurity, as let's be honest, does not really go away. We might be able to have a better understanding of it, and that's what I love about this film, especially as an adult. Last thing I'm going to say, genius cinematography by Thomas Del Ruth, who also shot, with 2 years after The Breakfast Club shoot Stand By Me, another film I think we've all seen. If you have not seen it, see Stand By Me. And then would shoot The West Wing, which pioneered cinematography and television. It doesn't get better than The West Wing, and I would love to debate anyone on that one. So, again, I'm going to leave it with, if you have not seen it for any reason, you must see The Breakfast Club. It is on Netflix. And Stand By Me is not on Netflix streaming. It's probably on DVD. Check those two films out. But mainly The Breakfast Club, 2 thumbs up, whatever you want to call it. The definitive teen movie, and it will never change. That will always remain. So thank you for your time. And again, enjoy the movies, watch the movie, have fun, and have a great Labor Day weekend. Aloha.